Hey everyone, my name is Carlo Libertini and thank you for joining me here today. In this video, we're going to take a quick look at both Neutron 3 and Ozone 9 by the good folks at Izotope. Now these are powerful and really easy to use plugins, processing units that I think you're going to really love. Let's take a look. In this session, I've got a stereo drum track of electronic drums and I've inserted Neutron 3. Now, what we're looking at here is the plugin window itself. It's completely resizable, which I've always appreciated in plugins these days. And basically, what it allows you to do is create your own custom signal flow of processing. See these plus signs right here? If I select that, now we can start building our unique signal flow as easy as this. There. Now, these are called modules. And you could select them and move them around in any processing scheme that you like. And within each one of these modules, you can bypass them. You can adjust the mix, the wet dry. You can close them. And you can also get access to some presets in there. All right. So they're very easy to use already. And as you notice, when you select one, the main window transforms into the area where you're going to be working with that audio. And next to that, we've got something called Mix Assistant and our presets. Why don't we start with Mix Assistant right now? What that's going to do is it's going to help you create a custom preset by listening to your sound. That's right. It's going to listen to these drums in this example, and it's going to make suggestions. But it's not arbitrary. It's based on thousands of hours of people like you and me, real music fans, listening to music and then working that love into these products. Let's take a listen. Let me open up Mix Assistant. Now we're going to use Track Enhance. Balance is another thing. This will help you set levels for your audio. But right now we want to enhance our track with some processing. So I'm going to choose Next. And then from here we choose what it is we're processing. I have drums set, as you can see. And the style, warm, balanced, upfront, low, medium, and high. I'll keep the things unbalanced. When I hit next, it's going to ask me to play the audio. Now, when it does, be mindful, some of the levels will jump. So if you're listening to this in headphones, try to turn the volume down just to be safe. Thank you. And just like that. Now, if you look here at the information area, it's telling you what it does. It's setting the sculpture curve, learning the EQ mode, setting compressors for me, setting exciter, adjusting another compressor. Already I'm loving this. Choose accept, and there we have our custom signal flow right there based on the audio. Now, within each of these, now that we have some audio processed and it's playing back, you can adjust the parameters to each one of these. Like the equalizer, for example, if I think it's a little too bright, see this curve here at around 4,617 hertz? I could bring that down about, I'm going to bring it down to 1.2 dBs. All right, I like that better. Let me go to my exciter now. Here's the crossover point. You can all do this in real time. There, I like that. You can also adjust the wet dry mix in our compressor level. Let's say I wanted to compress it a little bit less. I can adjust the threshold as easily as raising this bar right here. There. I went to 20 minus 21.2 there. And that's how the Mix Assistant can help you create a custom preset for this. And when you're ready to save it, you can come here and under the preset box, you can choose Add, and you can add it to any one of these categories. All right, and speaking of presets, these are really easy to use. Why don't we move on to our bass guitar and try some presets. I'm going to close this window, open up Neutron 3 that I have here on the bass guitar, and as you can see, let's start building our sound. Let's come up to our presets, and why don't we open the bass one, go to electric bass, and I'm just going to choose basic bass right now. Now, why I love using presets, again, it's because it may expose you to different kinds of modules, but not only the kinds of modules, but the different kinds of arrangements to create unique signal flows. Maybe you never thought about using an exciter, after a compressor or always before a compressor. Well, all of that will affect the tonality and sound of your work. So using presets can really help you see, hey, what could I do differently? You never know. It's a great way to learn how to get the most out of Neutron 3, I think. Let's take a listen to this. Here's before. I love it. A basic bass preset. I love it. Here it is before again. And here's after. This saturator module, by the way, that we're listening to right here, that's on our first signal chain area where the signal's hitting first, is really cool. It does enhance what we're already hearing. It just seems to make things sound better. And under EQ, we can see the boost here, some cuts, and on compressor, it's giving us an idea of where it's at the threshold at -15. And our exciter at a crossover point here. See that? At about 285. And I like it. Let's hear this in conjunction with the drums now. Let me bypass the Neutron 3 on the bass. Oh, I love it. It's really bringing the bass out. Now, let me unbypass that. Now you can scroll with these arrows here in real time to different presets. Look at this one. Let's try big round bass. And if you do find a preset you really like, but there's something you want to change, just simply select that module, change it, and you're all set. You're good to go. I absolutely love what this is doing for the bass and the drums together. You can really feel the drums and you can really hear the bass. What more could you ask for, right? All right, next to our preset scrolls here on the left and right arrows, we've got an undo history. This here enables zero latency. Now be careful, when you do use zero latency mode, there are some functions that may not be available to you. You can visit izotope.com at any time to download a product guide to Neutron 3 or all of their products and read up on that to get more information. Here we've got an options window, and this here is going to be access to help documentation. But notice here in the I/O panel, the I/O section, we have a limiter. You can actually engage this if you feel you need that. Now with it engaged, you also got parameters for controlling the limiter. For example, the style and the mode. All right, let's hear this with the limiter in. Yeah, I don't need too much limiting right now, but it's there if you do. Turn it on. And we've got our metering here and our another bypass. We can sum to mono, phase. We can flip the left and right channels. So it's pretty self-explanatory, very easy to use. In just a few minutes that we've been doing this, I mean, look how far we've come. We talked about the unique modules, how to create a unique signal chain for yourself. We used Mix Assistant. We even went through some of the presets and learning about I/O right now. All right, let's try this on something new. That's drums and bass. Why don't we come down to, I'll take these off of bypass. And if you notice, let's bring in my acoustic guitars. I have these going to a bus right here called acoustics. Let's take a listen. So rather than insert it on a single track, I'm going to affect a group of tracks for different acoustic guitars. Let me turn on Neutron 3. And now we have a preset here. Let's do this again. Let me close these out. and start from scratch. It's as simple as that. And let's make this as big as possible. Give me all that love. All right, let's bypass this. Let's take a listen. So it's a very nice acoustic. It seems like I've got two performers, one in each ear. Very nicely recorded, super well balanced. These files, by the way, please visit Produce Like a Pro at any time to be part of the academy there and gain access to downloading and working with files like this if you need to. I highly recommend it. It's a great place to be part of something big and special. So let's have a little fun now. Let's go to my Mix Assistant, open up Track Enhance. I'm going to choose Next and follow along with me. Let's go to Acoustic Guitar. Let's do something a little more upfront because it sounded to me like a little bit too relaxed in the back. And I'll keep the intensity on medium. Now, when I press Next, it's going to ask me to play the audio. Again, be mindful of the volume changes while it's processing and creating that unique signal chain for us. And again, that's not arbitrary. It's based on a lot of machine learning and programming. People like you and me who love audio, listen to a lot of audio, and we build it into this software. There. It's telling us exactly what it did. Izotope doesn't keep secrets. It's there for you to understand and there for you to learn from. I always appreciated that about this software. Choose Accept, and there we go. Let's take it out of bypass. Let's see what it did. Here's our equalizer. Did some sweeping boost up here. Our compressor setting and our exciter. Let's play the guitars back. It's bypassed. And here's with it in. It definitely cleared them up a bit. Definitely cleared them up a bit. Let me come to my compressor here. There, what I did is I went in, I took the compressor, and I adjusted what the Mix Assistant did for me. So I'm parting my own personality, my own creativity into this processing already. Let's go to my exciter now, and it's here on tape. Let's see if we can do something a little bit with this. I like that. Retro is one of my favorite ones. Seems to really keep things a little edgy, a little fun, impart a little bit of some harmonics to it. There's something really fun about the retro one. Tube, tape, warmth, again, they all do something a little different. Now I'm going to adjust the mix slider on the exciter module here a little bit. There. Why don't we bring in our bass and drums and hear how this is evolving. Oh yeah, I could do this all day. I really love what we're coming up with here. This totally brought those acoustics to life. Here's again the acoustics with the Neutron 3 bypassed. Now let's bring Neutron 3 on the acoustic guitars again. Huge difference. They still sound natural, kind of elevates the performance a little bit. Really helps make them a lot more present without taking over the mix. And that's what I like about this, especially when you're mixing acoustic guitars. Wow, that's awesome. All right, let's have a little bit more fun. Why don't we try this on our strings, piano? How about some vocals? Let's do a little bit of vocals here. So now we just inserted Neutron 3 on our vocal track. Let's take a quick listen to this. There's nothing going on here. There's nothing.
Like a ghost that follows me wherever I go.
Awesome. Now I have this going into a vocal bus with Nectar 3, which is another awesome application by Izotope. Nectar is great for tailoring vocals. Now you may ask yourself why I have Nectar on my vocal bus. It's because I want the stereo reverb and the delay that comes with Nectar to be in stereo. So I'm busing it to a stereo track. If you don't do that and you use the reverb and delay on Nectar, then it would be mono if it's on a mono track. But the reverb sounds amazing and the delay is awesome. Dimension really helps fill up the stereo spectrum. That's a little tip for you for that other application. Well, let's open up Neutron 3 here. And why don't we try a preset while we're at it? Let's go to vocals. And let's do some female light tape saturation. Now, just opening this up without playing any audio through it, I want to see what it's suggesting. This is a really drastic cutoff here. Everybody see that? And again, you know, we could adjust this around. There's a boost here and some highs here. I'm already going to bring these down a little bit. Compressor setting and our exciter. Let's take a listen to this.
Like a ghost that follows me wherever I go.
I like that already. I'm going to bring this down a little bit.
Like a ghost that follows me wherever I go. You're the music burning deep down in my soul.
So here's without that preset.
Like a ghost that follows me wherever I go.
And here's with it.
Like a ghost that follows me wherever I go.
So we have a little bit of work to do. I'm going to add the sculptor, bring this over to here, and we're going to do vocals, and I'm going to do some dialogue, some singing. I don't want to do dialogue. And I'm going to lower the tone a little bit, warm it up a little bit that way. And for my exciter, I'm going to bring this to warm as well and bring the mix up. Okay. And if things are getting a little loud, then we can, we got our makeup gain here that we can lower on our threshold at the compressor.
Like a ghost that follows me wherever I go. You're the music burning deep down in my soul. You're moving.
Now, sometimes when you're listening to how the processor is developing your audio, you know, you want to keep in mind that louder isn't always better. We want to hear how it's sitting in the mix. All right, so next we're going to look at Ozone 9 by Izotope. Just opening up Ozone 9, it should look a little familiar to you. And that's something I really appreciate about the family of products that Izotope makes, is that there is a continuity between all of these applications. So if you're used to using one like Nectar 3 or Neutron, and you open Ozone 9 here, it should look fairly similar to you, and I appreciate that. It allows you to stay in that creative headspace and get more results and less thinking. So let's take a look at this. Now, because it looks familiar to what we've already been studying with Neutron 3, we can add modules here. But with Ozone 9, we have more modules. Dynamic EQ. Let's load them all up. Dynamics. We've got EQ2, Exciter, an Imager, a low-end focus. So that's always a lot of fun. Master Rebalance, Match EQ, Spectral Shaper, and then the Vintage Suite, some of my favorite ones. The Vintage Compressor, the Vintage EQ, the Vintage Limiter, and the Vintage Tape. And just like we saw in Neutron, any one of these can be placed anywhere within our signal chain at any time, thus, you know, affecting the sound. You can bypass them. You could even solo the effect here, which I think is really cool, and opening up a custom set of presets for them. And you can also remove them as easy as that. Let me go back and open up my default preset and go back to ground zero here. And let's take a quick listen to our mix. Now this is showing us like a global fingerprint of the audio in real time. And I like that. So why don't we start with Master Assistant? Because this one's going to behave a little bit differently like we saw in Neutron 3. What are we going for? It asks you right away. Now, step one, it's got the modules. Are we going to use modern set of modules or more vintage ones like the vintage tape, vintage compressor, vintage limiter that I just spoke about? I'm going to keep this one modern, and you could just select them as easy as that. In step 2, we've got loudness and EQ. Now we have manual and reference. Now with a manual, we could set the intensity slider here between low, medium, and high. Or you could use a reference track. Now, I love this. Let's say you have a particular producer or an artist that you really love, or a similar style music that you would hope your mix would sound like. Well, by loading a reference track here, selecting that button will allow you to navigate your computer to load a reference track, which will then be analyzed and used to impart those characteristics in your mastering. And I definitely recommend trying that because you'd be really surprised with the results. It's remarkable. So you can switch between manual and reference tracking. And then, of course, on our destination, we've got streaming and CD. I'll leave it on CD for now. Now, when I choose next, it's going to ask to listen to the audio. Now, be mindful because the volume is going to increase. And if you are using headphones right now, I don't want you to hurt your ears. So just be mindful I said that. All right, I'm going to press next and then press play. There. So here's a suggestion to help you get started. So, the assistant here is utilizing, it's leveraging human power, believe it or not, because it's not arbitrary. It's literally thousands of hours of human listening built into this application to help you achieve what it is you're looking for. So, and it's telling you, it's analyzing the audio, setting the EQ and dynamic range, the maximizer threshold, and then at the other thing it did is it set some dynamic EQ to help improve maximizer transparency. I love that because you don't want your mixes always to be loud. You want them to be clear and heard. All your hard work goes into these mixes. And you want everything to be available. You want it all to be heard for your listeners. So let me choose accept now, and we're going to look at the preset. Here's the EQ curve it suggested, the dynamic EQ, and the maximizer. Not too much. Mix didn't need too much. Let's take a listen to before. And here's with the master assistant suggestion on. Okay, so I could select these and say, you know what? It's a little bit too bright for me. Let me bring these curves down, or I could even change them a little bit. Okay. See that? Let's press play. There. Now I'm going to add a module to this. I'm going to take what Master Assistant suggested and build upon that. And one thing I really like is the imager. I want to add this, and let's select the imager. Now the way this works is I'm going to select the plus sign and set where I want my low end to be. Let's say about 300 here. Select this, and this is the low end imager slider. I can increase the width of the low end or bring it in. It's a little tip for you. I often do this to help narrow and focus the low end. It's one way to try doing that. And let me solo the low end, and let's take a listen. There, by bringing it all the way down, it kind of just narrowed the low end for me. I like that. Or you could do the opposite. See, I put it a little bit more in my left and right ears, if that's something you want. I'm going to tunnel the low end a little bit, bring it down just a little bit. And let's add another band. Let's go to about... Now I would do this in real time. So now we got 3 bands, your lows, your mids, your highs, and you can add a 4th here if you'd like. Okay. I'll take solo off and, oh yeah. So you can mute these and activate them as easily as that. Let's do our highs a little bit. There. Okay, here's before. And here's with what we've got so far. Here's without the imager. Here's with it. So what the imager is doing is it's focusing the low end a little bit and opening up the highs above the threshold setting that I set here around 2.4K. And you can go on and on. Let's clear this and let's try a couple of presets while we're here. Let me open up my presets and start with general all-purpose. Let's say I wanted to add a little bit of analog warmth. Now you heard me mention before, I like presets because they help open me up to different possibilities with how to use these modules. And that allows me to get the most out of this program. Because sometimes it's easy to get maybe in a rut, you're always grabbing the vintage limiter or the same vintage tape. But sometimes presets can open you up or expose you to a different, not only different modules, but different signal flow. Let's go to something like Analog Dreams, Bass Focus, some headroom, brighten the overall mix, CD master. Let's see, depth and clarity. Let's try this one. And again, watch your ears, please, but I think it'll be safe. I'll bypass it. And let's bring it in. Yeah, I like what it's doing. Now let's scroll through a couple more. Let's do emphasize mid-range, emphasize dynamics, enhance dynamics. Before, and here's after. So this is a perfect example. Look, here's the module called Dynamics. It allows us to process this in mid-side if we want. Mid and side, we can process the left and right channels or the center independently. So if you've never used that before, this module, Dynamics, can help teach you or expose you to some of its potential. Okay? All right. Now let's move on a little bit. Here to the right at the top, we've got an undo, a history, our settings, and our help. And at the bottom here, you've got a bypass, a gain match, which kind of goes back to how we were using our master assistant and referencing some other audio to set our levels and tonality to, dither, and even real-time codec. If I activate this, you can see that I can audition my file, my audio, as an MP3 or an AAC file in real time. Now, why do you want to do this? Let's say you want to stream something at 192. You know, you go to your favorite streaming channel and they've got standards. Well, at 192, that it's going to change the tonality a little bit. So if you literally create a mastering preset chain while hearing it in a live preview at 192, for example, you're going to make changes to bring out the best of your audio, because you know it's going to be truncated down to 192 or 160 or 128 or even 320 here. So it's a live real-time MP3 converter for you to preview the audio through as an MP3 or an AAC. So as you can see, we've covered quite a bit. We looked at Neutron 3 and Ozone 9, both amazing programs by the good folks at Izotope. But still, we've only just touched upon what these can do. The best way is to find out for yourself. That's what I always say. So visit izotope.com, download a demo today, and be part of this. It's really fast becoming an industry standard. And as you can see, you get great sounding results fast, quickly, and really have a lot of fun while doing it. My name is Carlo Libertini, and thank you for watching.